it's me again. I hope all is well and welcome to When in Law School. Congratulations to you. You have made it to law school. I know that it's been a hard task. You've done your personal statements, you've done your recommendation letters, you've waited, and you have been accepted. And some of you are going to move across country, some of you are going to go to a law school that's in your state. And you spent your summer doing whatever it is you kids do during the summer. Now you're ready to begin. Here are a couple tips about orientation and your first week of school. So during orientation, you want to grab as much swag as possible. Wow. Calendars, coffee cups, more stuff with planners and tabs. Tabs you're going to be obsessed with. A little bag. So this is some of the swag stuff that they gave out for our incoming COA law students. This is kind of cool. I wish they gave that to me. Every school has a different schedule for orientation, and every school gives away a different free stuff. Even if you have 1,000 coffee mugs and they give you coffee mugs, grab a coffee mug. It's kind of nice to get free stuff for your tuition that you're paying. 3 days. Every law school is going to have a different program for orientation. Pay attention to what your school requires. Pay attention to where you should be and what times you should be there. And pay attention to that schedule for orientation. Orientation is kind of like your pre-work before the first week. Pay attention to your writing assignments, your reading assignments, whatever is due for the first week of class. During orientation, you should probably already have your class schedule and your books. See if you can purchase most of your books, if not all of them, during orientation week. Try that week of orientation to get your textbooks and start doing your reading assignments for the next week. So you're going to have your first week of class, and yes, there will be reading for that first week. Some of your most important and significant friendships that you make during orientation will be the most pivotal friendships and relationships that you've made and or will make for the rest of your life. No pressure. Orientation is a good time to kind of feel out your classmates and get to know some people and talk to some students. The way we do orientation, sometimes you'll get to meet some of the upperclassmen, so that's great. You can make friends with 2Ls and 3Ls and get kind of their advice on specific things. You don't expect it now, you don't know this, but the friends that you make during orientation sometimes turn out to be your best friends, not just through law school, but after. You have made it to your first week of law school. So here are some tips for your first week. Tip number 1, do your readings. Do the assignments that you have for class. That's very important because tip number 2, you will be cold called. Law school, everyone gets cold called. Most of, if not all of your professors are going to use that method. Your first week of law school, you should expect to be called on. You may not, but you may. So it's always be prepared, be prepared, be prepared. Don't be intimidated. Law school in and of itself is kind of an intimidating environment to be in, and that's completely understandable, but do not be intimidated by a reading. Do not be intimidated by what you perceive as you not being capable of doing work. Do not be intimidated by the work schedule or the workload. Do not be intimidated by your class schedule. Put in the time, do the work you need to do. You should start that with your first week of law school. Do not wait to the second and third week to try to play catch up. You should hit the ground running, which means your first week, make sure all our readings are done ahead of time. Let's get them done. Make your notes, type it up, do whatever you need to do to stay organized. Pay attention in class. Pay attention in class. Every class is different. Some classes may allow you to use your laptop to take notes. Some classes do not. If your professor is nice enough to allow you to do your note taking on your laptop, do not spend your time in class on Pinterest. Yes, I am judging you. Do not spend your time in class on Pinterest or Facebook or Twitter or any other social media outlet. Your first week is kind of like you don't know your professor's teaching style, so you need to pay attention. What are the questions that they're asking? That first week is a good time for you to kind of figure out what your professor's 1, teaching style is, and 2, how are they asking you the questions? That way you can kind of get an insight into how they are going to ask questions for exams. You need to pay attention to each professor's teaching style because each professor is different. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different personality and they have a different way of teaching. So you have to kind of pay attention to what that professor is doing and what questions they're asking so that you can be well prepared. 1, for in-class participation when you get called on, and 2, ultimately for your exam so you can get a good grade in that class. go for what you go for, and really be engaged. Be prepared for the gunners. You're gonna have those people that think they know it all, and right out the gate they're gonna be like, I know this, I know that. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're just gonna rub you the wrong way. That is not why you're there. Just put that in a little box and move on. If you do know something, that being said though, raise your hand. Do not be afraid to raise your hand. Do not be afraid to sound like an idiot in class. That's just part of the learning process. If you know something, raise your hand, get the answer out. Do not be intimidated by that. Do not be afraid to do that. The faster you can get that out of the way, it's going to be better for you. The professor's always going to see you participating as opposed to always having to call on you for you to participate. So pay attention to that. If your professor calls on you, be prepared to answer. But if they say something and you know it, put your hand up and try to make sure you get to answer the questions that you do know, just in case you stumble on a question that you do not know how to answer. For your learning skills class, your blue book is your best friend. Carry that thing with you everywhere. Try to figure out your first week to what supplements seem to help you understand the material that's being taught. So if you're doing your reading ahead of time, which you should be, go to your library and check out some of the supplements that they have for your textbook or whatever subject you're doing, and see if reading the supplements kind of helps you understand the material a little bit better. So that first week 1 and week 2, you should try to be figuring that out so you can figure out what supplements work. So you can already hit the ground running knowing what supplements you need during exam time or to prepare for exams in terms of helping you understand the material. Supplements are not meant to be substitute for your reading or for the class assignment. Just pay attention so that you can better understand what's going on in law school and achieve a better grade, basically, is what you're trying to do. If there's something that's being taught that you do not understand, go to your professor. Ask for help. Nothing's wrong with that. Some professors aren't as inviting as others, but for the most part, you're paying your money for your tuition. You doing well is determined by how much work you put in. Part of putting in that work is asking questions when you do not understand. Do not wait for the end of the semester to be confused about a subject that you should have understood in the first place. Some subjects build on each other, so you need to figure out what's going on ahead of time instead of waiting to the very last minute. So during week 1 and week 2, if there's something you do not understand, I know it's really early in the game, address that issue right away with your professor. It maybe not there in class, maybe after class, during their office hours. Email them. Find a way to get in contact with your professor to have that issue explained right away, so you don't have to wait until the end of the semester where you're completely confused to try to figure it out. Ask questions that make sense. Do not waste your professor's time when you go to office hours. And don't just go in there just to sit and talk because you don't have anything better to do with life. You should be doing your darn reading. Enjoy your first week, It is starting a new chapter in your life. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. You're going to enjoy the journey. You're not necessarily going to be in love with every single professor, every single class, every single thing that happens during your class with all the readings. No, you're not going to be in love with all that. But the journey itself is a great journey. So be prepared for just the greatness of that journey and enjoying it. Do your readings, do your readings, do your readings. Do all your readings. That's really important. Be prepared for class. Answer when you know the answer to the question. Some of these things are things that you know, and they seem like common sense, but then for other individuals, maybe not so much common sense. I hope it's helpful. Congratulations to you. You've done a great job thus far. It's just orientation in week 1, but you can do it. And then when it's all over, you'll be very happy. Before you know it, it will be the end of your first semester and the end of your first year, and you will be feeling just fine. Now you just have to do this 3 years and then pass the bar exam and then become an attorney and then just be awesome at life in general. Don't be afraid. You're here for a reason. You're here to learn. There are going to be a lot of things that you do not understand, you do not get. That's part of the process. Just do not be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to not know. Don't be afraid to get engaged. I hope this video has been somewhat helpful to you. If it has, leave a comment, like it, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You have a great orientation week and a great first week. I hope you enjoy your life when in law school.